The redeeming light. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The book of Isaiah in the Bible, chapter 9, tells us, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined." What is this light of which so many scriptures speak? In Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, we read of an early experience the master had with that light. I was blessed about the age of 8 with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Lahiri Mahashaya. This experience gave intensification to my divine love. While at our family estate in Ichapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, mother frantically mentioned me to look at Lahiri Mahashaya's picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I gazed at his photograph and saw there a blinding light enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms had disappeared. I was well. At once I felt strong enough to bend over and touch Mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her Guru. Mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. "O omnipresent Master, I thank thee that thy light hath healed my son." I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I was instantly recovered from an usually fatal disease. Where my light is, God once told the saint whom the divine light had healed, no darkness can dwell. The divine light, pure, calm, liberating, is the only final cure for every kind of delusion, ill health, emotional grief, and spiritual ignorance. Seek it daily in the silent, in deep meditation. As the Bhagavad Gita says in the 5th chapter, for whom that darkness of the soul is chased by light, splendid and clear shines manifest the truth, as if a sun of wisdom sprang to shed its beams of light. So in the scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Happy Sunday to everyone. Okay, wait, they need to do a check, sound check. So this Sunday we have a great theme, the light, if it wasn't clear enough. This is our theme today. Yogananda taught us aligned with the ancient yoga teachings that this world is nothing but a God's dream, and that everything is around us that seems so real. Everything that seems so real, so solid, it doesn't have its own reality. It's just like a projection of God's consciousness. So Master explains that the entire world, it's only a projection of God's consciousness. It's a thought of God. The dreamer, the great cosmic dreamer, is dreaming this world. And if he decides to remove this thought, this intention of creating and dreaming this created world, in an instant, the entire world, the entire creation would disappear. It's a great concept, isn't it? It can also frighten a little bit. Yogananda usually has used this metaphor of a film. He said that when, for instance, when we are watching a movie, especially when we go to the movie, we have this big screen and the sound surrounding us. We become so involved, so absorbed by this film. And for 2 hours, we are completely concentrated, identified with all the characters of the film, their story, the tragedy, the fortune, the hopes, the delusions, the success or failures, fun moments of light moments or difficult moments of challenges. We are completely identified and inside the film, and we're almost thinking that it's real because we're so involved, so absorbed. But Yogananda said in this moment, and he used to say to his disciples, and he would go together with his disciples to the movie theater. And so, right in the moment that they were becoming so involved and lost in the film, he would say, "Look behind you and up there, and look what's there in the little booth of the projection, where there is the projection of the movie, like a beam of light from a point up there, a beam of light that projects itself on the screen." He said, "It's not real. This film is just a game of light and shadows." So Yogananda said it's the same thing about this life, this world, which is everything we see around us, that if you touch it, it feels hard. It's nothing but a projection of God's divine light on the screen of our life. I would like you to hear this concept with the words of Yogananda. So we have 2 audio sections. I first read it to you in Italian, and then the other one. And this comes from a discourse by Yogananda, Awake in the Cosmic Dream. Awake in the Cosmic Dream. It's in English, so I'm not sure whether you know already this discourse, but it's wonderful. He talks just about this analogy of this word to the dream itself. So we read the first one. And when we listen to Yogananda's words, we just want to listen not only his words but his vibration, because in the moment he's talking from that consciousness of this very light, so we can perceive a lot of his consciousness, and then of our potential consciousness as well. So he says, "So this earth is nothing but movies to me. That's why I give so many illustrations of movies. And the first movie that I saw in India, I stayed there all night. For everything was tumbling and disappearing, and what a great fun I had that night." Somebody said, "Why do you want to see the picture all night?" I said, "I'm seeing the big picture show." "Big picture show? What do you mean by big picture show?" "You see sometimes a show. Little movies in the big movies. The little movies in the big movie." Then they understood. And my body became just a little like stone in a little while. And I still was fully conscious. Everything was light. I saw only shadows and light dancing. That's what happens when when you know God, that everything that is so frightful, wars, terrible things, you only see shadows. All the people that are killed in the picture, they are real to those that are seeing the picture with emotion, and to those that are not seeing with emotion, it's a picture show. My greatest fascination, if I am in the movies, is to see the light. And then I see the pictures and I say, my goodness, mountains, rivers, oceans, animals, and man, they are made of the same thing, shadows and light. So, is everything made of shadows and light? I see it all the time. Now we listen to Yogananda.
So this earth is nothing but movies to me. That's why I give so many illustrations of movies. And the first movie that I saw in India, I stayed there all night, for everything was tumbling and disappearing. And what a great fun I had that night. Somebody said, why do you want to see the picture all night? I said, I'm seeing the big picture show. Big picture show? What do you mean by big picture show? You see, sometimes they show little movies in the big movies, and this is the little movies in the big movie. Then they understood. And my body became just like stone in a little while. And still I was fully conscious. And everything was light. I saw only shadows and light dancing. That's what happens to you when you know God. That everything that is so frightful, wars, terrible things, you only see shadows. All the people that are killed in the picture, they are real to those that are seeing the picture with emotion. And to those that are not seeing with emotion, it's the picture show. My greatest fascination, if I am in the movies, is to see the light. And then I see the picture. I said, my goodness, mountains, rivers, oceans, animals, and man, they're made of the same thing, shadows and light. So is everything made of shadows and light? I see it all the time.
And then it continues. You know, sometimes in the movies you see the light near the booth is strong, but outside you can see it. It spreads out. The light of God is so spread out in the sunlight that this light is hidden. But as you go inside, it is very strong, but very mild. That light wraps me all over. That light is so wonderful. The light of all lights. The light that lights the candle, that lights the atoms, lights my speech, lights my voice, lights the soul of all of you. I see the galaxy of souls coming out of that light. Where do stars come from? Where do atoms come from? Where do pictures in the movie show come from? From the light in the booth. So from the booth of eternity, the sphere of light is producing in this center the pictures of all life. As I am talking to you, that great sound, the great cosmic voice takes away my breath, and I see the other side of the picture. It's so beautiful. This is just the meager side of that light. Look at the movies and you will see they are all pictures, light and shadows. That's what we are, light and shadows of the Lord. Light and shadows of the Lord. Nothing else than that. Let's listen to him.
So this earth is nothing but movies to me. That's why I give so many illustrations of movies. And the first movie that I saw in India, I stayed there all night.
That's the second one.
So this earth is nothing but movies to me.
It's the same. I don't know why. Can I wait? Yeah. I'm looking for. Yeah.
You know, sometimes in movies.
So this earth is nothing but movies to me.
So you have understood that in this earth nothing is but movies to me. So at least we have at least we have listened to the words. So he says that we are the big actors, and he says that we must recite at the maximum of our capacity in this movie. That we want to must recite our role well. But exactly as an actor, when they act in a show or a movie, he does it with emotion. But then what happens? Then the recording is finished, so he comes out of the scene and he goes back to his normal life, and he knows that he's the actor, and what he was doing was the show, the movie, so he's not identified with the role. Swami gave us an example, and once he told us about an actor who was acting in a show called Charlie's Aunt. But I don't know what it was, but that was the name. And this actor became so identified with the role that he was acting, that he was thinking of being that character. He wasn't able anymore to understand that he was an actor and that he wasn't that role, and so they had to shut him in an institute. And guess, we too, we are like that. We hope that nobody will take us away and shut us in an institute, but it's exactly the same thing. We are so involved with what we are, instead of residing in the movie of God. And every time there is a beautiful part in the film, and that we have a good relationship, or something that we wanted is happening, or we get a job that we wanted, and a light moment is coming, we feel really elevated and full of joy. But then when there's the moment of the movie where things are not going so well, where there are challenges, maybe lost, difficult things, sadness, so we go down and we live and we suffer from this, and we go up and down like this, because what is happening, that's exactly the theme of the first discourse Yogananda did when he came first to America, because this is the idea at the base of his entire teaching. This theme, you can find it in the book God is for Everyone. I really advise it to you. It was written by Yogananda and it was rewritten by Swami Kriyananda. God is for everyone. It says we only want the beautiful moments. We want everything that is beautiful. So we're running after everything that makes us happy, that we love, and all of this. And we try to hold onto this state. But do you think, is this possible? I'm not sure. Look at your life, at your lives. What is happening? This world, the projected world, is made of duality. It's lights and shadow. It means there cannot exist only light without shadows. So we cannot have nice moments without unpleasant ones, success and failure. So for every up, we need a down. So we're sballottati, sballottati. So we're tossed up and down, continuously up and down in this world of duality. And the only way out, guess which one it is not to identify ourselves with the movie, to make a step backward and just to see that everything is lights and shadow, and that the source is God's light, and we are part of that light. And we want to look at this word like a great movie of God, but to identify with the light. It doesn't mean that we're becoming indifferent, or that we are not interested anymore in the movie. As Yogananda says, we need to play well our roles with love, with our heart, with compassion and love about everything that happens. But the trick is exactly this, of not identifying oneself. Swamiji, in certain situations with certain people, he has as shown them very challenging movies, dramatic, a little bit hard ones. In the moment that it was natural not to close the eyes, and you don't want to allow those images to come within you, he said, no, look at those scenes, because we must not deny what's happening in this world. We must not pretend it doesn't exist, because it's happening. So it's not that outside things are changing, but it's within us that something is changing. We look, and then we take a step backward as an observer. And then I tell you an experience, a little personal. Let's see how it goes. And there was quite recently, I had a consultation, astrological consultation with Mauro, our astrologer of Ananda Sisi. And what came up in this consultation, that there is something from the past that it's very evidently still there, still pain and anger. For things that happened in the past. The details are hard to know, but ways that I was treated, I didn't have freedom, I didn't have justice, I didn't have justice, and I suffered a lot. So this pain and this anger went somewhere very deeply, in a place very deep down, maybe a little hidden as well. And Mauro told me, Mahia said, it's a time to heal of this, to heal yourself of this, and let go. And I said, I'm ready. I don't need this anymore. I want to be free of this. I want to heal myself. But then I thought, how is it possible to heal of something like this? You don't even know what happened, where it came from, who was involved, why. How can you start forgiving and letting go of such a thing? And during a ceremony, a purification ceremony, where we had an online event, and Rudra and I were guiding this, I wanted to offer this. And in that moment, I realized that the problem was that I was still identified with that pain and with that suffering, and all that film that was going on that in a certain level happened to me. So in this moment, during the ceremony of purification, I offered my identification to that, to all of that. Take my identification of what has happened to me, that I know, I'm aware of, that it was just a movie. And I could feel a great freedom, a great power, a great freedom in the moment from all of this. Sometimes it's not necessary actually to understand where the thing comes from, what had happened. What is important is not to identify and to detach oneself. I want to read something, a quote from the Bhagavad Gita, that it talks about this. And it's talking about the soul, and this part that it's never touched, and it's on the side of the So this is from the Bhagavad Gita. No weapon can pierce the soul, no fire can burn it, no water can moisten it, nor can any wind wither it. The soul is unclavable. It cannot be burnt or wetted or dried. The soul is immutable, all permeating, ever calm and immovable, eternally the same. The soul is said to be imponderable, unmanifested, and unchangeable. Therefore, knowing it to be such, thou shouldst not lament. I like this last part very much. Not because we're always complaining of the things that happen to us, well, we shouldn't be complaining. How beautiful. So there is this part of us that cannot be touched by what is happening outside of us. This is a Sat Chitananda. Existence, consciousness, and bliss, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And he, Yogananda, taught us that we are Sat Chitananda, individualized Sat Chitananda. Therefore, our soul is a spark of God, and it's part of God, and we are that. How can we therefore, how can we reach this point as Yogananda and the other masters tell us? And it was mentioned in the reading as well. Meditation, it's obvious. Meditation, always every Sunday satsang, we always come back to this point. Meditation. So we have wonderful techniques. We have the Hong So mantra. I am thee, I am thee, I am he. And we have the Kriya, the powerful Kriya that helps us to withdraw the energy from the senses and go within. Then we have meditation. It is so important to get to the point where, it's like our mind is like a surface, like a lake or just a mirror, and it must be completely still with no motion at all, perfectly calm. It has to be perfectly calm in order to reflect the light of God within us. And all the thoughts, agitated thoughts that we have, what are they? They are our desires, our attachments, and in essence they are that part of us that is still identified with the film. So when the mind is so restless, that's the part of us that still inside, that hasn't made it to go beyond. So our duty is to completely calm the mind until not even one thought is left over. It's like we use Ananda's favorite quote: when the mind is deeply calm, the light, the inner light, spontaneously will appear. If you listen to Anand's discourses, he mostly talks about these things, these metaphysical things. But if you go and watch the recorded discourses by Yogananda, talking about this light and this state, so I know that at least 50% of you, maybe 90% of you are thinking, but with meditation, I have a little bit of challenges with this, with my mind. I'm not exactly at the point where there is not even a little movement. I know, because I'm also one of these people. There are people who, for whom meditation is more natural, and other people for which it's a great effort because we are more active, we are more comfortable in action. But also for people who find the meditation easier, it doesn't mean that the mind is completely calm. It's a journey. It's a gym for all of us. But the news that I wanted to give you is that I realized several years ago is that there is no shortcut to God, and there's no alternative to reach God. When I realized that, I said to myself, Mahiya, either you do the work now and you put all your energy and practice and you do your journey, or you wait and postpone. But this will come back. Maybe if not in this life, maybe in the next life. You must, if you want to know God, you must reach the complete moment of complete stillness. So be still and be complete me. So completely still and know that I am God. Only there we can know God. There was once upon a time a man who had did a race run, and somebody asked him. He said, "Did you?" And he said to him, "Did you win?" He said, "No, I didn't win, but I won against myself. Therefore, don't take any notice whether you're reaching the perfect state, but at least that we are doing at least our little steps against ourselves, and that requires a practice and consistency." The frustration is not helping. With the meditation, you probably know that already. What happens when you feel frustrated? We become tense, there's contraction, and then what happens? We cannot calm our mind. Therefore, there's a lot of passion that is required, compassion, but constant practice and do little steps every day. We must control this mind. We don't want it to wander every day or wander or be restless, and then you sit in meditation and you expect the mind to get calm. It's a work that you also do outside the meditation, and then slowly we can observe the results. It's important. Yogananda says it's better to die at the end of this life, even having failed what you were doing it, but trying to do it, instead of dying without having tried to do it at all. So meditation, I think of my mind as a teenager, and that I have sort of a relationship with my mind. It's a teenager with a lot of energies, and an energy is with a little bit out of control, a rebel sort of energy, maybe some teenagers. And what happens when you become frustrated, or if you become too harsh, and you get angry with this teenager? Does it work? No, it becomes even worse. But you must be firm enough to create boundaries, because otherwise, without boundaries, it does what it wants. So we want to give ourselves borders. No, 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 no. But yes, compassion, comprehension, and love. And so it works. You can even give a name to your ego, your mind, so that you can do this, but not this. I talked during my meditation with my ego. You try. So we must learn to stop the mind during the meditation, and then we must bring this contact, obtain this contact to the light, even small, but the contact has to be there. We want also to bring this into daily life. And we must be always identified with that part that observes the soul, Satchitananda, the observer, and to learn not to react to everything that happens outside, but just to take a step back and just to look at it with a sense of humor sometimes, because it's a great film, great movie. And I just lost my thread. Just a moment. So to act in the word, but always with a step back, with the distance. And we can also try to feel that what flows through us when things happen to us, when we do our service, it's the light of God doing it. So while we are in motion, I want to be identified with that part in meditation, in the energization exercises, and in motion. And we want to cultivate a relationship, certainly with God, the great dreamer. And we can also always talk to Him. How am I acting today? What would you like me to do today in this great movie? What is the movie today? What is the plot today? And develop this relationship with this great creator and this great dreamer, very intimate relationship and a way to live our lives in deep contact. And when Yogananda says when we have a relationship such this with God, the whole world is very fun, a lot of fun. But without God, the world is everything but funny, amusing. And something else we can do is what we are about to do is the ceremony of light. In this ceremony that we at Ananda, and maybe some of you, you should listen and take part every Sunday. We try really to go deeper into it, not only being there in a passive way or just only part of us, and listen each word and try to feel the significance of these words and of the message, because it truly tells us the story of our souls. So I invite you to live it in a different way, a little bit more different today, in a deeper way, trying to really feel that we are that light. In this way, we can live in this world, and we can always be happy. Because when I was talking about these waves going up and down, sadness and happiness, but this is only when we are identified. But if we live in God, in meditation, in action, in a relationship with God, we can really live in a state of continuous happiness. And Swami Kriyananda was a good example, incredible example of this, because even in the most challenging moments, when, for instance, the temple, there were different episodes that happened, and there was a temple that they had just built, was for once more destroyed. And he anyway went to the shop and he was singing, and the person at the shop said, we had just lost the temple. He said, well, you lost my, yes, I did lose my temple, but I didn't lose my voice. So just take a step back. And I want to leave you with Yogananda's words, not the audio, but just the words. This comes from the book Whispers from Eternity. And maybe those who have read Whispers from Eternity, maybe they don't realize that in the beginning there is an essay called The Cosmic Motion Picture of Life. So the cosmic movie, and of different pages, several pages. So you just go to take that book of Whispers and read the first part. And these are the last words of this essay from Whispers of Eternity, and I will leave you with this message. The great director of life's motion picture is bliss itself. We, his children, made in his image, should resolve to be ever blissful also in ourselves. From joy we came, in joy we live, in sacred joy we melt. God created this cosmic motion picture for entertainment, our own, and that every actic atom as it spins about in his aware universe. You've surely seen a theater motion picture that depicted the tragedy Shakespeare's Hamlet, for instance, or a Greek tragedy. At the end of the play, you thought, what a marvelous drama. Why not view in the same way every scene of life? Say to yourself, how interesting it all is with its ups and downs, its laughs, its cliffhangers, and even the seeming finality of an actual plunge down the cliff. Remember, there are no final endings. There is only continuous change. Ah, what a glorious adventure story. Life and death will appear to us then as an unalterably joyous experience. We shall find ourselves united with cosmic consciousness and shall no more be affected by any wakings of birth or sleeping of death. Thus will it become natural for us to watch the cosmic motion picture with pure delight, knowing that all those who stumble dazed along jungle paths of delusion will come out in the end, and we will know eternal freedom in every lasting, ever conscious, ever new bliss. Oh.